What was an Easter sepulchre? It was the tomb of an individual erected on the north side of the chancel, which over each Easter weekend would be used as a focus for devotion, representing the entombment and resurrection of Christ. It always had a flat surface on which the sepulchre itself could be placed. In fact, we have erroneously been using the name Easter sepulchre for many years. What we see today is the stone structure onto which the sepulchre, a temporary structure, was placed. Only one medieval Easter sepulchre survives at Cowthorpe in Yorkshire, but it's of a different type altogether, not for placing on a tomb. It's now commonly accepted that the sepulchre itself was a wooden chest containing either the cross from the main altar or a consecrated host. It may have depended on the size of the sepulchre, as some are so small as to only be able to house a host. These monuments were installed in churches from the 13th century until the Reformation, with a peak of popularity in the 15th century. The ordinary church would only ever have one, so it was the first person to the post, as it were. The early ones are rarely inscribed with the name of the donor. The later ones are usually known. 40 years ago, Dr. Pamela Shinegourn went through medieval wills to list all those sepulchres mentioned in England. She discovered several hundred, and there were undoubtedly more that have gone unrecorded. Once the initial sepulchre had been donated, subsequent generations would leave candles and offerings to be used in its ceremonies, so not all mentions in wills refer to separate structures. Like many medieval church furnishings, the sepulchres could be as plain or fancy as money allowed. Most were plain chest tombs covered by an arch or canopy, some of which show evidence of where the wooden structure itself could be slotted. This sepulchre, recently restored at Kelling, is very small and was probably just intended to take a host. But I would like to take you to another Norfolk church that has a very special Easter sepulchre indeed. St Andrew's Northwold is a church mostly rebuilt in the 14th and 15th centuries, but it's the Easter sepulchre that we've come to see. It's a large and impressive structure on the north side of the sanctuary. Let's go and have a look at some of the component parts of this very elaborate Easter sepulchre. At the top of the monument is this wonderful series of vaulted projections. Just look at the quality of the vaulting on that stonework. Beneath it is the flat surface on which the sepulchre itself would have been placed. But in this particular instance, there's a very rare feature. Behind this candlestick is a hole. It's very deliberately been cut, and I think that's probably the hole where the host would have been placed. On the eastern end of the sepulchre, you can see that there are some notches in the side, and I think these are for the wooden superstructure where the sepulchre fitted onto the stonework. The most important feature of this Easter sepulchre is a group of 4 soldiers along the front here, sleeping, of course, as they were. A feature that's easy to miss are these birds in the tree, in the garden. Look, this one's even got an acorn in his mouth. We've seen how Easter sepulchres can be plain or fancy. This one at Northwold is an exceptional example. How they were used is still open to debate, but the more they're studied and the more we find the individual details, like these holes in the Northwold example, the more likely it is that before too long we can have a definitive idea of how the Easter sepulchre was used.